This smartphone is really good. I know audience attention spans are short these days, so there you go. But really, the Honor Magic series has only gotten stronger over the years, and now we have a flagship phone that can stand next to Apple, Google, and Samsung and say, yeah, I can do many things better than you guys. The camera is solid. Battery life, class leading. It's got the top chipset from Qualcomm, a beautiful display, and now get this, you can pick it up for $750. And just to put that into context, that's less than what a standard iPhone 16 costs, as well as the standard Samsung S24. And believe me, it's not competing with those devices. They are a tier below in terms of quality. This is competing with the Ultras and the Maxes of this world. There are a few faults with it in my heart, but I can only really count them as personal opinions, as well as the odd overall fault too, which we'll get to later. Those other phones that we talked of before, they're great, but it could be argued that this phone even looks a tier above visually. I don't know if you agree, but the Magic 6 Pro just looks expensive. The design and finish of this product for me reflects the category that it belongs in. It's modern, it has an air of luxury about it, and clearly belongs to the upper end of smartphone design. Battery life, if you're a normal user, is easily 2 days if you're splitting most of your time between your home and the office Wi-Fi, but I've seen countless battery tests since this device came out, and man, it just keeps going. Part of that is down to its massive 5600 mAh battery. If you're a power user, this will last you through a full day of heavy camera, gaming, and social media activity. And then there's charging. 66 watts charging, wireless. You do have to use Honor's own wireless charger for this, but boy is it a treat. Popping it on there in the morning, making a coffee and having a shower, and it's done. For the full wired experience, you're getting 80 watts of power. And that's the thing about this phone. All of the big features are high-end, but so are all the smaller ones. There doesn't seem to be much corner cutting going on. The face unlock, for example, isn't just a 2D flat pic scan like 95% of other Android devices. It has a full 3D system with depth sensors built into its dynamic eyebrow. It also has SOS satellite messaging for emergencies, reverse wireless charging, incredible speakers that completely took me by surprise when I was going through my gaming test, which we'll get to later. The 120Hz screen has the latest gen LTPO display, allowing it to ramp down to just 1 Hz to save on battery life. And while we're here, we might as well talk about that display, which, I'm just gonna say it, it's the best display I've ever seen in a smartphone. I will say I have not used all smartphones, but from my personal experience, this is just the nicest, the most beautiful, most enticing smartphone screen for everything. The 6.8-inch OLED panel is so rich, the blacks are like ink, and the display can reach 1600 nits on normal brightness and 5000 nits on HDR. I feel like someone's gonna fact check me on that. And yes, I am aware this is not a full Quad HD display, but I didn't notice it, and quite frankly, I didn't care. Games also look fantastic and they run flawlessly, with Honor packing in a Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 along with 16GB of RAM. Heading into the graphics menu on all games will reveal all the ultra high-end settings available and ready to go. I pushed it to the max almost immediately on Genshin Impact, and although there was a temperature increase, it was nowhere near anything to be concerned about. The refresh rate and screen looked fantastic when gaming on the Ultra FPS settings on Call of Duty. I also went into Honor's dedicated gaming menu to give the performance a further boost. The display only made things better. It's large enough to immerse you, but the phone is still light and thin enough not to get uncomfortable when holding it. And then there's the speakers that, as I said before, really surprised me. Full of rich quality, but they also get loud and really push the direction of the sound right towards your face and ears. You feel as if everything is happening right in front of you. The rest of the phone is fast and snappy. All of your daily motions like opening apps, loading times, and scrolling are fluid and instantaneous. And I also really love Honor's animations. They're probably as close to an iPhone as you can get. Heavier tasks like photo editing in Lightroom are a breeze with this phone, staying cool and lag-free even whilst using heavy tools for raw images. Talking of images, let's talk cameras, which is probably the most interesting part to talk about for me. DxOMark ranks this phone second in the world, and that's a huge claim. But if I'm honest, I have always wondered why Chinese phones are always at the top of DxOMark. Chinese brands always put the DxO ranking into their keynote presentations before the device has been released, like they've designed the camera system specifically to tick boxes and get high marks in this specific scoring system. I'm not saying it's corrupt or anything, but that is something I've noticed. Not that this phone doesn't have a good camera system, it does. I would say for most regular users, you cannot go wrong with the pictures you get out of this phone. They are ready to be posted on social media without even having to edit anything. Pictures are full of quality and detail. If you want to start pixel peeping, you will not be disappointed at what these sensors can pick up. And in this case, it will pick up these two beer drinking dudes. The main and ultra sensors are 50 megapixels with 180 megapixels on the 2.5x optical zoom, and I really like this lens. Once you start punching into 2.5 times and beyond, I'd say to 5 times and even 10 times, you can get really cinematic looking pictures that have a real depth to them. They crush the blacks nicely and have a good amount of contrast, and there is a real photogenic quality to them, and as someone that enjoys street photography, it's really appealing, and I almost defaulted to use this lens as the primary shooter when out and about. And if you want to use it to just get really close to a subject, you can do that too, and it looks fantastic. The ultra wide goes, well, really wide. There's no messing about here. You get a massive 122 degree field of view, and it really allows you to capture quite fantastic dramatic shots. I won't say that it's as strong in terms of detail as the other two lenses, and if you crop in closer you can start to tell that it doesn't have optical image stabilization like the other two lenses, but I think it's a solid addition to the camera system. By the way, if anyone watches Peaky Blinders, perhaps you recognize a certain Birmingham vibe. Now, having said all of these nice things about the camera, it can go wrong. I've often found Honor's imaging processing in past phones can be a little bit off, a bit artificial, somewhat over sharpened, and this is true for a lot of images you take on this phone too. And when it goes wrong, it really goes wrong. The contrast and clarity can go seriously over the top, with images looking completely ridiculous. The camera system doesn't feel consistent across the board, with the image pipeline not able to keep the same tones and colors from one lens to the other, or even sometimes two pictures taken seconds apart, and I really don't like this. It's also just okay in night shots. Granted, I took these in very low light out in the city late at night, and while I don't expect ultra-wide shots to be strong on any phone camera, as well as the telephoto, the main shooter I thought did have a tendency to really over-sharpen certain images, and again, I wasn't a fan of the processing. But I will say that all the images out of the main sensor are decent enough. But now we get to my main gripe with this phone. Video quality. Hi, I'm Michael, I make tech videos on YouTube. I started this channel filming on my OnePlus 8T, which is probably my favorite Android phone of all time, and I'm going to put a link down below to my special 8T anniversary video that I made before. I currently film on this channel with an iPhone 13 Pro Max, which is 3 years old now, and the Honor Magic 6 Pro is nowhere near as good. Video quality from the main lens, I would say, is subpar. It is cool using the zoom lens to get a different perspective on certain shots, and it was really fun playing with it, but let's get back to the main lens. Stabilization and panning feel so jolty and unnatural, kind of like you have the phone on a really rigid gimbal. And again, video looks weirdly artificial to me, like it's made from some sort of AI watercolor filter. And listen, maybe you can't see it as much as I can, but I look at a lot of video footage from various phones, and this just ain't it. I used the Magic 6 Pro to film some parts of a YouTube video a few months back where I needed my iPhone to be on screen, and I found the autofocus to be very inconsistent and again sometimes jolty when changing focus. I don't want to be overly critical of this camera system. It is number 2 on DxOMark, and part of that is because for 95% of users, these images are going to look fantastic, and I'm here enlarging them on my 34-inch monitor and wearing a monocle to view them, but that's my job. So, software. The Magic 6 Pro runs Android 14 with Magic OS 8 riding on top. It's a clean design, neat, tidy. You get plenty of customization options, although this wallpaper setup menu is a carbon copy of the iPhone one. My goodness, that is shameless. Talking of iPhone, the dynamic pill cutout has UI features and the animations are really smooth and nice, and you can interact with them too, but it's not overly useful, I would say. Looks cool though. You get this useful parallel section where you can run your apps in secret in this alternative layer. I wonder what apps are being put in this place. Let me know down in the comments. I did have fun running as many apps on screen at the same time simultaneously in a smaller form. That was cool. The phone handled it really well, and this is something I personally would not do as much day to day, but I know a lot of people do like having simultaneous apps on screen, and for you guys, this phone has got that down. So this review did go a little downhill at the end there, didn't it? But did it really? My problem with the Magic 6 Pro was mostly personal taste and minor issues. If I had to give this phone a rating, it would easily be an 8.5 out of 10. It is a brilliant device that is severely underpriced but overly equipped and overly powered. It is one of the best Android phones you can buy today, and you would have to be some sort of tech YouTuber who uses his phone to take videos and photos for his personal online channel and for his business to complain about any of the things that I did. Well, it's been fun, and if you made it to the end, then you are awesome, and a sub to the channel and a thumbs up would be even more wonderful. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.